You have something I want.
You bet I do, and that is stats. Everybody loves some good stats, right? No? Okay, well, these you're gonna like. So I have statistics on toy sales that really not many people have. I think we are like the third biggest new action figure dealer in the United States at this point, behind only Entertainment Earth and Big Bad Toy Store. They're not out there putting these stats out, but here I go. I'm putting some cool stats out. So we're gonna talk about bestsellers. We're gonna talk about what vendors move better. We got so many cool things to talk about. I even created some of my own metrics. And the big thing that I want you to take away from this that's really interesting to me, Hasbro is not the king of sales that some of us think they are. Let's talk about it. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Matt, also called Big Nerdy. Together we are the NWO, the Nerd World Order, and this is Nerdzoic. 2023 was such a huge year for Nerdzoic. We did over $1 million in revenue.
I'm rich! I'm wealthy! Yahoo!
No, that doesn't mean we made $1 million in cash. That's our sales. How does that compare to other places? Well, according to the records I've seen that are public for Megalopolis, we are significantly beating them at their peak. And think about that for a minute. They had a whole warehouse. They had a team. They had a retail store. They had a marketing team. There was a whole big thing of overhead, which might be why they didn't last. Meanwhile, this is Big Nerdy, Mrs. Nerdy, Team Nerdy, and our basement, and our small off-site warehouse that we use now. Yeah, we are killing. But with $1 million in sales also comes with it a whole lot of data. I'm a numbers nerd, guys. It started with fantasy football, Excel, Toy Fair magazine. You see these values. I like numbers, okay? So we're going to talk about some of the ones that I thought were the most interesting. In fact, there were 8 statistics / numbers that I thought were really interesting for 2023. Some are sales figures, some are not, but we're going to really dive into them, and I think you're going to find them super, super fascinating. Quick disclaimer though, numbers need context. They can be manipulated if you wanted them to be, so I'm going to explain that as we go through. Let's start with interesting fact number 1, and it's a crappy one, and that is our transaction fees. So in order to use a credit card machine, as in like on the website, you have to pay a transaction fee, a percentage per transaction. I believe ours is like 2.5% plus 30 cents per transaction. In the end, you ready for this? We paid $43,150 in transaction fees in 2023. It's actually a little higher than it should be because we use that installment to pay option, and we pay double a percentage than we usually pay for that, but I think it's good to have that for people who need to spread out the payment, so I figure it's worth it. If you didn't know this existed, yeah, welcome to the world of business and one of the painful things we deal with. This is one of the reasons that a lot of places, us included, charge a cancellation / refund fee, and that's because we have to pay the percentage on the initial transaction, we have to pay the percentage on the refund, and we get nothing, so it's really like real lost revenue. Sucks. So number 2 here is going to be the sales by IP, so like the franchise, the fandom, so you know, the actual brand itself, and what percentage of revenue that brand generated for the toy store. So number 1, not surprising, is Marvel at 24.8%. Number 2, also not really surprising, Star Wars 18.8%. Those two brands are across so many different toy lines that they just generate a lot of revenue. Number 3 is surprising because it's not made by a lot of people, and it's a privately owned IP, and that is the land of Mythos and Cosmos, Mythic Legions, Cosmic Legions, Figura Obscura. Yeah, number 3 at 7.7%. That's pretty incredible for an IP that's been around for less than a decade at this, well, maybe a decade, almost a decade at this point. Number 4 is something I thought would be higher, and that's G.I. Joe at 7%. Number 5, something I thought would be lower, in Transformers at 5.1%. Then we get into the interesting stuff, and really, you kind of got to take these numbers for what they are. Remember I talked about numbers needing context? Star Wars and Marvel have a ton of releases throughout the year.
200,000 units are ready, with 1 million more.
Roughly, I'd say between the two of them, 700, 600 releases. That's a lot. Now these next things, not as many, plus there's a reason they're lower. Gargoyles is the next one at 4.2%. That one doesn't really need any explaining. DC though at 4.1% needs some explaining, and that is I went like 3/4 of the year completely saying no to DC because of McFarlane.
No!
and I really didn't push the product. And by push the product, I mean have enough of it or have it at all. Now that I'm really focused on it, I'm getting good suppliers for it, it's starting to move, and I think that's going to be a big change next year. I would be surprised if it doesn't double. Next up is TMNT at 3.9%. That just kind of is what it is. I thought it would be higher, but it's not. Next one's a surprise, and that's Universal Monsters, 2.9%. In the year of our Lord 2023, Universal Monsters, a 100-year-old property, is still crushing it. That's amazing. And then lastly, at 2.5% is one that needs a major asterisk, and that's Action Force. The reason it needs a major asterisk is because I can't keep the product in stock. At least in 2023, I couldn't. So as good as their numbers are, they should have been better, because I continually sold out, and then Bobby sold out over at Valveverse, so I couldn't get more. If I would have bought, like, I don't know, an extra 10, 20 cases of Pandora, how high would they be on the list? God only knows, because it's growing so fast. I know everybody wants to talk companies, though. They want to talk about, like, yeah, I hate you, Hasbro, or yeah, I love you, Hasbro. Everyone's on the fence differently. I think I'm the only one who's like, yeah, okay, I'm in the middle. Apparently, I don't know. But let's talk about where they actually stack up. What percentage of our revenue is garnered by these companies? Hasbro, obviously number one, 51%. That might sound like a lot, but folks, in 2022, 76% was Hasbro. So they dropped like a rock. 25%. And honestly, that was largely my goal for 2023, was to not be dependent on Hasbro, so to grow other lines and really focus on investing my inventory on them. And it worked, because that's a huge drop considering our revenue as a whole is up 65%. Next up at 16.3% is NECA, 8.2 for Horseman. Surprisingly to me, 6.7, Metacom, which is Mafex, then Mezco 5.3, Valveverse just at 2.7, but again, if I had kept it in stock, I think they would be probably right behind or tied with Four Horsemen, only because Four Horsemen is similar. If I could have kept that stuff in stock, if I would have bought more of it, yeah, I would probably be higher, closer to NECA, I think. I don't know. It's such a game that I have to play with purchasing. Sometimes I think about, like, hey, all these warehouses have like all these purchasing managers. We have Big Nerdy and Vinny. Sorry, I forgot about you. Yeah, it's just us. It's hard sometimes. I thought this one was interesting. I know some of you might not find this interesting, but Mafex bestsellers. So Psylocke 1, Scarlet Spider 2, Magneto 3, Cyborg Spider-Man 4, Classic Spidey 5. Why did I find this interesting? Because the reprints did better than the new stuff. Psylocke killed it. Classic Spidey, who was number 5, along with the Black Suit Spidey, if I would have had some guts and ordered super heavy on them, they'd have been like in the top 3 as well, because they just sold so quickly. But Mafex and its re-releases are weird, because you can't just be like, I'll take 1 million.
1 million?
You're gonna get allocated. They only make so money, and then it's like, okay, free for all for all you stores, fight over them. And what does that free for all look like? It usually means I gotta send the crew over to the other side. They gotta have to fight some people to get it. It's mayhem. Maybe. How about actual bestsellers though, like total overall? And I'm doing this by unit, because if I did it by revenue, it wouldn't be fair. Headless Horseman would win, because it's this cost of 6 other figures. We're gonna count these down backwards. So unit sales, Gargoyles Xanatos. Okay. Number 9, Broadway. Interesting. Number 8, Gargoyles Brooklyn. Okay, Gargoyles really killed it, huh? Number 7, our one and only Star Wars Vintage Collection with the Phase 2 Clone Trooper. Number 6, Gargoyles Elijah. Okay, seeing a trend here. People like the Gargoyles. Number 5, Headless Horseman, baby. That's right. That guy sold like hotcakes. He sold better than hotcakes. In fact, people who sell hotcakes are going to say, man, this thing sold like Horseman. Number 4 was the animated Cyclops Marvel Legends VHS. I'm going to put a star on that, because that wasn't exclusive, of course, because I'm the man. I scored it. I'm sorry, Vinny's the man. He scored it. So I'm going to put a little star next to it, because it was something that wasn't readily available everywhere. Number 4, the Shock of Shocks, Gargoyles Lexington. Number 3, another huge shocker, Gargoyles Steel Clan. But I'm going to put a star on this, because this could have been more if I would have bought more. I sold out of him repeatedly. Even right now, I don't have him in stock. Like, I can't keep him in stock. If he would have been in stock all year, he'd be number 1, I think, without a doubt. But number 1 is actually not a gargoyle. No, the number 1 seller of 2023 was the NECA Dungeons & Dragons War Duke. Didn't see that coming, but man, that sucker sold. What about Hasbro, man? Everybody really collects Hasbro. Yeah, don't worry, I got you. Number 6 on my list of cool facts is the Hasbro bestsellers. And this one does have a lot of asterisks on it. We're gonna do this the opposite way. We're gonna just go with number 1 because you know what it is. And that's the Legends Cyclops VHS. Then the TVC Clone Trooper. Awesome news there. Okay, now we get to the things you don't know. Black Series Endor Commando was number 3. The Snow Serpent, number 4. Number 5 was Carnage, but I put a little star next to it. This was like a highly desired rerun. I did get a lot of them. I got them early. Next up would be the TVC Vader Death Star 2. Then we got the Black Series Darth Malgus. Then the exclusive white carded Black Series Clone Commander Arc Guy, which I can't believe he made the top 10 in 2023, considering he was number 1 by a lot in 2022. Then the 60th anniversary Amazing Fantasy Spider-Man, which also came out in 2022, but was killing it in 2023. And then lastly, major asterisk, the Voyager Studio Series Megatron 38. Why the asterisk? I think I was the only one to score it. I scored a bunch, so you gotta put that in there. It's only fair. Next up, number 7 for our interesting facts is the Hasbro toy line sales. So it seems like all of the different like one-party fans fight, like the G.I. Joe guys are like, we sell the most Hasbro, like this is the best brand of Hasbro. And then the TVC and the Star Wars Black Series guys, they of course fight. But here it is, this is the Nerdzoic breakdown. 32.3% of Hasbro sales are Marvel Legends, 24.8 Black Series, 18.5 TVC. So if you combine both Star Wars, they're bigger than Legends, which kind of surprises me because number 4 is Classified at 10.6. I thought that'd be higher. Number 5 at 9.6% Transformers, then at 2.6% Power Rangers, and at 1.5% Indiana Jones Adventure Series. Units sold per product per toy line. It is an imperfect metric, I admit, because I will create other things that are not new releases. Like it might be a closeout that I get of something from 2021 that I put up in 2023 because we never had it then. We weren't open then. It's a little bit off, but it's a pretty good number. It's a really good gauge, I feel like. First of all, Joy Toy, you suck. You sold less than 1 figure to every SKU I created.
You suck.
No wonder why I stopped creating them and carrying you. This is just really shocking to me. The most sales per SKU created in the Nerdzoic toy store is Action Force by Valaverse at 36 sold per SKU. Wow. Because that could be a lot higher if I stop running out of things. So 2024 might be the year that Nerdzoic just like has Action Force everywhere in his house because I gotta have a lot of it. Number 2, not surprising to me, is NECA, 34. 3, not surprising again, Jada Toys, folks, 29. How high would Jada have been if I didn't have some low seller reprints in there that I added this year, like Count Chocula and Frankenberry and Gooberry? I mean, they're not like super low sellers, but compared to Street Fighter, they're not. Compared to Chester Cheetah, even, they're not. So if we're just talking Street Fighter, pretty interesting. Number 4, woo! How ironic, 4 Horsemen, 23. Next up, Hasbro. So they are like just average. When you look at their sales per unit, and we're looking at units, not dollars, folks, they're just an average. They're like middle of the road. They're me on my SATs. They're me on pretty much all intelligence measures. Average. Then we get Mezco, which is actually even lower than it should be because we had a lot of Ghost Riders to sell and we've had some great sales on it. So we sold more of them than we probably would have in neutral conditions. Diamond Select at 11, Mafex Metacom at 10, and those sales also have a little bit of an artificial increase because we overbought a lot of the new releases this year and had some good sales. So yeah, interesting stuff. I'm really hoping editor Epi and producer Kyle can cut this video down because I talked a lot. If you enjoyed it though, let me know. So my question today for you with this number vomit that I just threw at you, what was the most interesting thing to you? What was the most surprising? Let me know in the comments. Also, check out this video here that YouTube's saying is best for you because I'm not smart enough to think of one, so we'll trust the machines until they take over the world. And remember, you gotta get old, you don't have to grow up. Just be cool and stay nerdy. Later.